up, everybody? Welcome to Open Exchange. This is episode, I believe, three.
Episode three.
Episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're gonna come a little different with some things that we talk about all the time.
Oh.
The name of this episode is
I need Jesus and my therapist.
Jesus and my therapist. Now, why do you think it's important to talk about this issue? And I say issue for a reason, and we'll get into it. But I really believe that people think that because I'm a Christian, because I pray, because I go to church, that solves all of my problems. And I'm careful and mindful when I say that, because yes, we need Christ.
Absolutely.
But we also need tools and clinical help to get through some of the things that we deal with in life, right?
Yeah, we do. So why don't we do this? Why don't we just talk about some misconceptions of therapy, and then let's talk about some benefits. And then when people finish, then they can decide what they want to do. But let's talk about some misconceptions of therapy first.
Okay. That's a good point. So I think one thing that people think about and what makes it taboo in our communities, not only just the Black community, but especially in the Black community.
Yeah.
I think that people really feel that therapy, counseling, clinical therapy and counseling is only for people with severe mental issues, like open mental issues.
Crazy people.
Yeah.
Crazy people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no. I mean, first of all, health is wealth, right?
Yeah.
Mental health is wealth. And so sometimes I feel like you just need somebody that doesn't know you, that doesn't necessarily know your situation, that you can decompress with and just talk about how life is lifing and how you can maneuver through your life.
Well, I think that people feel like they have, if they're not showing outward mental illness, that they don't have it at all.
Right.
And it's not that, you have a diagnosed mental illness, but I think let's take a like depression. And people could really be depressed and not know it.
Yes.
It comes out in different ways. And the full disclosure, we're not clinical therapists, but we are in therapy.
Yes.
So it is, and it's one of those things that you don't know you need it until you're in it.
Right.
Because one of the benefits is self-discovery.
Yep.
So when we're talking about self-discovery, like, what does that mean to you?
It means to me that I'm learning things about myself that I thought I knew. Like I thought I knew like what pushes me over the edge. But I realized that I was kind of pushed over the edge before I actually got to the edge. I've just learned how to cope and deal. I know I can't show all the way out because I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my job. But you're already on edge.
Yeah.
You're already on edge.
Yeah, that self-discovery is awareness. Because people can just think, well, I'm just overwhelmed. Or I'm just, I don't know why I'm tired. I don't know why there's fatigue. I don't know why I'm aggravated or annoyed by certain things. But they just you don't realize that you're running on empty. And that you need to talk through why you're empty.
Or, not to cut you off, on the other side of that is knowing that I was tired. I was on empty, but I had a right to be tired and a right to be empty. Like what I felt, I did feel that.
Hmm.
Those feelings that I was feeling, or those feelings that I do feel, the good thing about therapy, what I've learned is you kind of have to lean into that feeling.
Hmm.
You don't need to suppress that.
Right.
You don't need, if you are angry, and again, like we talked about in the first session, we we grew up in Christian households and everything like that. But I mean, nobody said I had to walk around and be like, "Hi," all the time. No, because sometimes I don't feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another misconception is that because you're Christians,
Yeah.
that you don't need it
Ha.
because you go to church and you have um, you pray and you have your quiet time and you do your thing. It's you and Jesus, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
practical aspect to what goes on. There's a practical application to life.
Yeah.
And could it be that Jesus wants you to go to therapy?
Could it be? Could it be that Jesus wants me to go to therapy to talk about some things from the past
Yeah,
that have caused me to develop and move in the way that I'm moving, the way that I'm developing,
yeah.
so that I can maybe move in another path? Or
Hmm.
if you have children, maybe therapy can be used as a way for you to see your blind spots so that you can help your children not to have those same blind spots. I think we call them in the black church those generational curses.
Well, maybe,
Maybe.
maybe. I think that the thing that it is that we have to talk about though is if I'm sick physically,
Yeah.
and I break my arm or I have a stomach issue, a heart condition, I don't ignore it and just sit home and pray about it.
Correct.
When I have a mental issue, the same thing applies. Um, if I know that I'm not feeling right, if I know that I'm down, if I know that I've had certain traumas, a series of traumas, or one big trauma,
Mm-hmm.
it really doesn't matter. Then I need to seek professional help for that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to apply the same practices that you do for physical illness
Mm-hmm.
to mental emotional things, and I love tying in the mental emotional because it's hard to separate those things. It's hard to think one way and feel another.
Mm-hmm.
um, and so I think that it's important that people see that the physical
Mm-hmm.
illnesses, and the mental illnesses both deserves that attention, because one of the benefits is, you know, I don't understand my triggers.
Yeah.
I don't understand what happens, you know, um, when those things come toward me, or what awareness or what things do I need to be aware of, what's going to trigger me, what's going to push me, like you talked about, over the edge.
I'm laughing because I just had a conversation with somebody. We were talking about triggers. Now, I think before therapy, I was not aware of what my triggers are. Since going to therapy, I recognize what my triggers are, and sometimes triggers can be people,
Yeah,
and I think that's important to know.
oftentimes there are people
Oftentimes, they are
when you're in the
people.
people business, for sure.
But knowing that a person could be my trigger literally now helps me to guide my conversations with
Hmm.
people. Because sometimes some people you cannot avoid, but you can control how far in the conversation you're gonna get with them.
Hmm.
And so like I said, I laughed because I thought about that earlier today. I had a conversation about that, and it was like, okay, so it's my job to teach people. I learned in therapy, it's my job to teach people how to treat me. So
Hmm.
let me go ahead and cut this conversation off because I see it going to the left and it should be going to the right.
Right.
So
You get those little sayings. I heard that from you before, from your counselor, and you said that teach people. One thing I heard before that, I thought about that when you said it, was what am I going to give my energy to?
Yes.
Like, this doesn't deserve all my energy. Some things deserve all my energy. Some
Mhm.
things don't.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to give this thing all of my energy.
Mhm.
Um, some people think I got to be hustle bus. I got to run here. My kids need this. My kids need that. And that's how you end up in
Mhm.
a bad place mentally and emotionally.
Mhm.
So yeah, you learn those tools, you
Mhm.
learn those sayings, you learn those things that you can apply right there on the spot
Mhm.
to help you get through. Another misconception is, you know, this is it's kind of funny because it's stuff that we've heard all of our lives growing up before we get um, to a point where we understand the benefits of therapy. But how does a stranger, because you don't really know your therapist until you
Right. Right. Right.
build that relationship. How's a stranger gonna tell me what I need to do with my life?
They don't tell you what to do with your life. It goes back to what you said about self discovery. It's literally for me. It's a simple
And it's that way
question.
for everyone. If your therapist is,
Well, yeah, but my experience has been, so how have you been doing since we last talked, or is there anything you want to talk about? And of course, I am a yapper. I start talking, but in talking to my therapist, you run right into, oh, well, maybe it's me. I have laughed and I'm like, well, maybe that it's a me problem and not a them problem, you know? But no, the therapist is not telling you about yourself. You are telling the therapist about yourself, what you have been through.
hmm
And there are, for me, questions that are asked.
hmm
And then I answer them.
that's the clinical practice. The clinical practice is to kind of navigate you, um, prompt you into discovering
Mm-hmm.
what you need to know about that situation or those situations or your day
Mm-hmm.
in that moment. Um, because they're gonna always ask you. In my experience, it's always how are you feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, and you go from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a point of self care because being parents, working with other people's children,
Mm-hmm.
being a husband and a father and all those things,
Adulting.
just adulting period,
Mm-hmm.
you very rarely talk about how you're feeling and what you're going through. If you're a selfless type person,
Yeah.
some people always think about what they're doing and what they're going through, but it takes that professional guidance to move you through your feelings and your emotions.
Yeah, because when I first started, it was hard for me to actually talk about myself. It
hmm
really was.
hmm
I was talking about my relationships with y'all, my relationships with the kids, and then my therapist was really nice. And she said, okay, so we've talked enough about your family. Let's talk about you. And then that kind
hmm
of made me recognize, what am I doing enough self care? Am I really spending enough time thinking about
hmm
who it is that I am,
Yeah.
who it is I want to be, and how to get there? So
Right.
again, that self discovery.
Yeah, yeah. And we,
Great benefit.
with that same thing, we just had a conversation with a family member who was like, "How's a person? How can you sit down and just talk to a stranger?" Um, it's actually easier
Hmm.
to talk to a stranger about how you're feeling.
Hmm. But some people have gone to therapy and it hadn't been, they say they haven't had that same response. And I would say that 15-minute consultation is really good, because that's the beauty of therapy too, right? It's like trying on shoes. You got to try on some shoes and they look good in the box,
You
but
gotta find
until
a
you put
fit.
them on, do you recognize it fits for you? So
Mhm.
I would say to anybody that's saying, yeah, I tried therapy, but that it didn't work for me, keep trying, because it's about finding that fit. Use that free consultation to
Mhm.
talk to the individual, and you're gonna know.
Especially if you know you're not yourself.
Yes.
Especially if you know that you're not processing things right, and you may not know that, and that's actually a dangerous point. where you can't see yourself,
Mhm.
where you can't evaluate yourself, where you can't regulate your emotions. And I ain't talking about just young people. I'm talking about older people that can't do that. You wonder why you always getting fired. You wonder why you always, losing out on this. You wonder why your relationships don't work.
Mhm.
You probably need someone to help you process these things. If,
Mhm.
from a husband and father standpoint, if you can't lead and you find yourself ruling over, or you find yourself being a tyrant
Mhm.
to your loved ones, you have an issue.
Mhm.
You have something that you need to fix, and
Mhm.
and oftentimes you need professional help to do that.
Mhm. And it's nothing wrong with that.
No,
We all need help. It's okay. I heard somebody say a long time ago, it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way.
right. Even if you've had past trauma that wasn't your fault,
Right.
it's not your fault that happened to you, but it is your
To
responsibility
do your work.
to heal and do your work,
Mhm.
because you pass that along, because
Hurt people.
hurt people.
Knowingly and unknowingly, we pass that along.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Mhm.
So another thing, we talked about how it's taboo in the black community. Um, and
Black people don't do that. That's the one.
black people don't do
Black
that.
people don't do therapy.
But and I've said this a lot of times, and now the community gets to hear me say this. But if anybody,
Anybody.
if any demographic um, needs therapy,
It's us.
it's the black community. I mean, you deal with all types of trauma and uh, microaggressions and things that can consume your mental emotional status. And let
Mhm.
me say that, I want to say this. I'm not saying that everybody should, this is a way just to become a victim. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, you just taking control
Mhm. Mhm.
of your mind, your will, and your emotions, and helping push yourself and challenge yourself to walk through life. Some people, learn this in therapy too. Some people are stuck
Mhm.
at the age of that trauma. I can
Mm.
be a 47-year-old man, but
Mhm.
I'm stuck at age 7.
Yeah. 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 I totally agree. I totally agree. I mean, I'll be honest. When I go to a table and people see me, you see a grown woman, but my my hurt self, she is somewhere between middle school and first year college. She will
Mm-hmm.
show up. And if you go to therapy, then you may recognize I ain't talking to the 47-year-old sponsor. I'm talking to, yeah, and understanding that. And for me, I think that's important for me to do my work. I heard my therapist when she said to me, it ain't always about you.
Right.
And I'm gonna be honest, when she said that, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm paying, but you ain't gonna be. And then I had to stop and think
Mm-hmm.
about, like, for real, that's kind of selfish to think about every situation that happens that
Mm-hmm.
somebody is wronging me. Life be lifing, and life is happening for everybody, just like it's happening for me.
Or when you have something that's disappointing. We've all had that situation, where I'll just be honest. I had a job interview.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the job. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I should have got the job.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just be
Let's be
clear.
clear.
Um, and what I couldn't think about what was wrong. Like, because I've been in job situations where it's like, I don't know about this one,
Yeah, yeah.
but this was it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get disappointment in your life, you know, because you have tools
Mm-hmm.
to deal,
Mm-hmm.
you accept that. And so, going back to, it's not about you. I don't feel like that was about me. Yeah, I know I was there. I know I was in it. I know that, I was interviewing for the job, but the decision of whether to get the job or not to get the job, I don't think that came down to my skills and abilities.
Mm.
So I think it takes a healthy mindset to be able to say, okay, because that rejection could be protection.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you got to make sure that you're not always putting yourself in that situation and saying, "Oh well, if I had done this, or they're doing this to me, or they're not doing this to me, or if I just could have done a little bit better at this," you know, don't be so hard on yourself, because every situation is not about you.
Right.
Every circumstance
It's not about
is
me.
not about you.
It's not.
So you got to be able to pull out and see that from a different view and different perspective, because it could be God intervening
Yep.
and protecting you from something.
That's good right there.
So um, you don't get there without having a positive outlook and a positive mindset that a professional help you get to.
Absolutely.
So one of the other benefits is, because we're Christians,
Yep.
we're open about our Christianity,
Mhm.
and we have Christian therapists.
Yes. Yes. For me, it was I wanted a therapist, but I wanted a therapist that was a Christian because I wanted someone that understood who God was, but also knew Bible because I'm a church girl and someone that could direct me back to, which because I feel like for me, if I'm looking for something, it's in the Bible. Someone that could direct me back. So, I've been reading the book of James for a couple of months. I've been stuck on that scripture about you need to be slow to speak and quick to listen.
Hmm.
Stuck on that.
Hmm.
And it's funny now. It wasn't funny then when my therapist was suggesting. She simply said, "Have you read the book of James?" And I'm thinking, oh, and I'm thinking, yeah, but ain't nothing. James is not a book of rainbows and butterflies, right? So I was like, yeah. She said, I suggest you go back and read that again. Um,
Yeah.
and as I read it, the picture was painted for me of where I was in this space of life and how I was going to get through it. And the way I was going to get through it, I was going to take it day by day and I was just going to have to do the work. I was going to have to be quiet and I was going to have to listen and I was going to have to recognize it ain't about me. And who said that I can't hear no? Who said that me not moving when I want to move is not a bad thing.
Hmm.
But again, I had to use my tools from
Yeah.
therapy and think back on my sessions and my
Hmm.
notes and my homework that I've done, my self
Hmm.
discovery to say, all right, we just got to keep moving.
Because it's natural to be to jump the gun in life,
Yeah.
and to think that,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we got to do this because they're not doing this and they're not doing that, or someone always is doing something wrong to me. But what is the lesson in that? What can we learn from this situation? And I've learned to be in the moment,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
good, bad, or indifferent.
In the
Be
moment.
in the moment, learn from it,
Mm-hmm.
grow from it,
Yep. Yep.
and move on when it's time.
Yes.
Don't try to move out of situations. Don't be no punk. And and when things get rough and things get tough, now you back out.
Yep.
We
Mm-hmm.
always want to run and hide, um, when things happen to us, and when things you know negative happen in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We got to walk through some things,
Yep.
and we got to take some things. We got to take some lumps and bumps,
Mm-hmm. Take it
and
on the
we got
chin.
and we got to keep moving. So I want to move on to our next misconception, because this is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
What happens, um, when people feel like I'm either too old or I'm too young to get some clinical help? Why do you think that that's a deal? I'm too old for this, or I'm too young for this. Because I'm not afraid to say our children have been in therapy. Not because things are necessarily wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but they need another advocate, another support, we felt like,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to say things that they may not want to say to us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if there's some things that we need to know as parents,
Mm-hmm.
the therapist will let us know.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it's not like they're gonna make. I think people feel sometimes that if my kid starts talking to a therapist, that therapist gonna make them crazy.
Again, it's self discovery, right? And
Yeah,
then I think it's all about too you explaining to your children this is why we're doing it. For our children, it was nothing that they did. It was a support that we saw that they needed because of
yeah,
how life was happening around all of us,
yeah.
right? So, first of all, establishing this is why you're going so that they know, okay, it's safe. You signing off. I'm signing off on this.
Hmm.
And you're gonna go in there, you're gonna talk to them, and then knowing that whatever you said to the therapist is staying with them, unless it was something that was unsafe, which for us that was not a case. It was their conversation.
Hmm.
It was their conversation.
Hmm.
And also as a parent, it's kind of, to me, it's helpful because I can't be everything to them. I'm not supposed to be everything to them.
That's a good point.
So I'm trying to teach them at a young age, like I used to say to them, Jesus is gonna be Jesus, and you're gonna be who you're gonna be. Whatever you need, Jesus gonna give it to you. You needed someone that you could talk to and not look at mom's face and not look at dad's face, and you got it.
Yeah, I think I want to park at we can't be everything that we need to be for our children. I know that sounds that's contradictory to what people think. I'll do anything for my children,
Absolutely. Don't
but
get it twisted.
you cannot be everything that they need you to be. And I really truly believe that it takes a village. You're the head of that village
Yep.
as a parent,
Yep.
but it takes a village. It takes um, extension family members. It takes therapists. It
Mm-hmm.
takes counselors. It takes
Mm-hmm.
pastors. It takes youth leaders, people that they need in their lives that they feel that they trust
Mm-hmm.
and that they can speak with,
Mm-hmm.
because you're setting yourself up and your child up for failure if you think I'm all they need.
Yeah, because what happens when you're not here? Be it not to necessarily say that you're dead and gone, but what happens when they're in a situation and you're not right there?
Yeah,
What are they gonna do?
I don't know. I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, so they've got to learn that, okay, I can get, and it's rooted and grounded in our belief and our relationship with Jesus,
Hmm.
to know that Jesus will always be with you. He's gonna always give you everything you
Hmm.
need, and He will put those people there
Hmm.
that need to be there.
What would you say to the people that feel like I don't want to have to go in there and lay on somebody's couch and tell them my life story?
First of all, we don't laying on the couch is a misconception. We're not laying on the couch. And the second
It's
thing
not TV,
is,
right?
no, it's not TV. And the second thing is, in this day and age, virtual telehealth. I
Yep.
love it. I
Yeah.
I have a lot of times I have my sessions in the car, in a parking lot somewhere.
Hmm.
Like, it's a couple parking lots around the area that I go and drive, either because I left work late, or I just kind of want to be in a space where I can just let me just go ahead and talk. Um, Virtual is really good.
Yeah.
Is really good because I can have that conversation that I need. So it's not a hustle. I don't have to leave work an hour ahead of time because it's going to take me 45 minutes to drive somewhere. I can leave work 15 minutes before my session and just find somewhere to park,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Or being in the comfort of your own home.
Oh,
I mean, we
yes.
learned some things from the pandemic,
Yep.
and then just to be honest, I've never had a in-person meeting with my therapist.
I haven't
Never.
I haven't had one with my therapist either. Or what about the fact of, now if I'm going on vacation, you know, because I have mine on the schedule, you have yours on the schedule.
Yeah.
If your therapy appointment happened to fall on the same week that we were on vacation, you still can have it
Right.
because it's
Right.
virtual.
Right.
It's virtual.
So you don't have to worry about those things or what you see on TV or look at the butterflies and
Right.
what do you see, the ink blots and all those things. So it's totally that couldn't be further from the truth.
From what we've had to deal with. Now everybody, because they're different types of therapy or whatever, but we haven't done that. But I think the biggest benefit for me is being allowed to feel.
Mm-hmm.
In this
Mm-hmm.
day and age, where even though after the pandemic, everything stopped, then as we came back, we started kind of getting into a rhythm, being able to feel and take time to feel. That's what I feel like happens in my sessions.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for me to say, as I'm talking, to recognizing that I'm getting emotional talking about something, and hear my therapist say, but how do you really feel?
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that if I need to cry, I can cry. I can say some brutally honest things, and there is no judgment,
Mm-hmm.
because another benefit is my therapist is not my friend.
Right.
So when I say to her, I don't like how you told me that it ain't about me, she don't take it personal.
You really stuck on that. It's not about me.
Yeah, because it was so funny the way she said it.
Oh.
It's
Mm-hmm.
funny, and that's the good thing too, being able to look back on your sessions and the things that you've heard, and knowing that growth has taken place. Because pre-therapy, if she had said that to me, well, wait a minute, because ain't nobody asked you that. But because I'm in therapy, it's not about it ain't about hearing what I think I want to hear. It's about the truth.
Yeah.
That's the whole
Yeah.
purpose of the self discovery, is to
Mm-hmm.
get to the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and piggybacking on that with the misconception, I feel that, you know, people feel that, I don't go because it's not going to solve all my problems,
Hmm.
and it's not.
No, it ain't.
It's not. But you know, I'd rather show up with some tools than in life, to face life, than no tools at all.
Right.
You know, so it does give you uh, a chance,
A chance. That's good.
and a chance to save some things that without it you would destroy.
Yes.
And I really speak from it. I think it's important that we speak from it, not only from, just the overall therapy, but from what we do in our roles to
Hmm.
one another,
Hmm.
and to our children. So for me, as a husband and a father, I look at this and I think about, why didn't I do this earlier?
Hmm.
Because we had a lot of fights,
Hmm.
and we had a lot of arguments, and we made a lot of bad decisions because we didn't process our thoughts.
Hmm.
We were not self-aware.
Hmm.
We just did things because we were into our feelings and not in a good mental state to deal with things.
Hmm.
Um, Now, we never been committed. I've never been in a straight jacket or anything like that. But when your emotions are out of whack,
Hmm.
you can mess up a lot of things unintentionally. Like, I didn't intend for this to happen,
Hmm.
but I'm messing this up because I don't have any tools.
I my first session with my therapist, and the question she asked me, she said, this was the consultation. I was supposed to spend 15 minutes. She said, so why do you want to go to therapy? And I said to her, I said, I know I need to go. I have one of my children's been sick, so I've been focusing my efforts and my time on them and making sure that they were going to their therapy. And I think it's time for me. I had a pretty answer wrapped in a bow. And I said, I messed up when I said this. I said, and my husband and my children keep saying that my responses are XYZ. And I'm telling them that's not my response. And she looked at me and she was shaking her head. And I said, but then the other day, I recognized that my response to them was XYZ, and it was way off. And I just started crying, because in that moment, I was like, I don't want to be that person.
Hmm.
I don't want to be that person.
Right.
And so what was supposed to be 15 minutes was an hour and 15 minutes later. And I'm like, I
Did she
guess she
charge you?
gonna
Did
be
she
my
charge you
she
extra?
ain't charged me nothing. It was
Oh,
free. And
okay.
she said, you went over. She said, but that's okay. But that's okay.
Right.
Because I needed that. And it has taken me some time to get my rhythm, because at first I was going like every week, and then I'm like, I'm good, I don't need it, because I was just talking about y'all. And then when she said, so I want you to begin to think about yourself and where you want to be, and we want to spend more time talking about you.
Mhm.
For some
Mhm.
strange reason, my schedule wasn't working, and so then I couldn't see her every week, and I was trying to go every other
So your
week.
schedule wasn't working when it was time to talk about
When
you?
it's time to talk about me, it wasn't working, and
Mm.
so
Okay.
and then I got off, and then something happened, and I just said to myself, I ain't gonna say that. I'm just gonna wait till I see my therapist and I'm gonna talk to her about it. And that's really what I do. When I feel that I'm triggered and things are bothering me, I make a mental note, I put a note in my phone or I write it down and say, I need to talk to her about this because I need to
Mm.
understand why is this bothering me. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to aggravate y'all. I don't want it to be a thing like, oh God. Now the kids, they laugh and they pick on me, and I'm really fine with that. But I don't never want them to be like, no, I'm not going home. If my daddy's not home, I'm not going home because it's just my mama. I want them to enjoy being around me. So I feel like for me, a big part of that is doing my work so I
Mhm.
can talk through my frustrations and my disappointments that I may have.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. That's good, and it's good that you had that little transparent moment because that's part of therapy
Yeah.
that helps you recognize, you know, where you are in
Mm-hmm.
life, how things, how people perceive you,
Mm-hmm.
and how you have to move on. We all need to do that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we live in a community.
Yeah.
We live with other people. We live around other people, and so it's important that that we get along.
Yes.
That we know how to respond um, to one another. So, people can say that it costs a lot of money to do that. So, we're not billionaires. We don't make tons of money, um, and we can afford to do it. And I think that what helps with that is, you know, and then when we found out that, oh man, insurance pays for this,
Mm-hmm.
so it is like I don't even think about the cost.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that's a varying cost, but I think it's important. Like we don't skimp on things that we need
Mm-hmm.
in our lives, um, to because it costs too much money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just got to find there's a way,
Mm-hmm.
and I encourage people to find a way
Yeah.
to make it happen.
If somebody's watching this and they're trying to get a job, right, and you have to go to the table and negotiate your salary. If I'm going into a new company, I'm going to ask them, when I ask about my health benefits, tell me
Hmm.
about my mental health benefits.
Yeah,
If you are working a job in 2024, you need to be able to go see a therapist,
for sure.
because it's not, sometimes it's about, I'm in a toxic work environment, but I
Hmm.
gotta work,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I can't quit this job today and
yeah,
have a new one tomorrow. How can I exist in this space and work? So
yeah.
it's
Check on
important
they got to check on that EAP,
that EAP, that
because
EAP,
it is there for a reason.
it is.
Because of what you just said, it's not fair for you to have to miss out on work or anything like that, or have to pay crazy prices
Yeah.
for something that that's being caused by your job.
Or
S-
think it's you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Some of us do really tough work,
Yes.
dirty work. I mean,
Yes.
we work with other people's children. We work around people. I mean, everything that in your job, everything that comes to you is negative.
Everything.
Because it's not that the work environment is negative. It's just that,
The issues, all the
yeah,
issues I
you're in
dealt with are
compliance.
negative.
So
Yeah.
you work in compliance, and so that's one of those things. So you have to have a way to decompress,
Mm-hmm.
and to talk about those things, because oftentimes we can be running on empty,
Mm-hmm.
and not know it.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't have an opportunity to decompress, um, we could be pushing those things, pushing work to home,
Mm-hmm.
pushing work into personal relationships, and that's not fair to our loved ones.
Yep.
So, as we wrap this up,
Mm-hmm.
any final thoughts on, um, I need Jesus, but I need my therapist?
If you were on the fence about going to therapy, if you're not sure about it, I would say try it. If you try it and it doesn't work, you tried it and it doesn't work. But to
I would
never,
say try more than one.
yes, try more than one. I found our therapist on blackgirltherapy.com because they had a list of
Hmm.
certified therapists in the area. You
Hmm.
could be living in California and your therapist could be in Vermont as long as they have the licensing for it. Because Black Girl Therapy is one of my jams that I've been listening to
Hmm.
since the pandemic. Dr. Joy Harden,
Hmm.
wonderful, wonderful podcast. But let's just try it. Let's just try it and see.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would say this too. Yes, we believe in our quiet time. We believe
Yes.
in our worship time. We believe in prayer. We believe in listening to the preached sermon and word of God. But we also understand that there is some practical application that has to take place in our lives, and it's important that we do all the steps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we gonna work out. Yeah, we gonna eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
We
Drink our
gonna we
water.
gonna you gonna we gonna drink our water. We gonna do our thing. We gonna go to the doctor, get our regular visits.
Yep.
We're also going to work on our mental emotional health.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think that's a huge takeaway, and I would encourage people to try it, get on board. It has worked wonders in our lives. I'm sure that you feel like, not to put you on the spot, you don't have to say yes, but I think I'm easier to be around if I think you see the results in our own household. Me post therapy, me pre therapy.
Same. 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 Seriously. Same. I
Yeah,
do. I do. And I
yeah,
and I think you could say the same thing about me.
yeah, yeah. All right.
All right. Thank y'all for watching.
Yep. See y'all next time.
Bye.